Hey guys, this is Chris Fayte from Cheat the Game coming back at you. Today we're going back into Darksiders 3. This time we're looking for character physics so we can grab ourselves a super jump or a fly hack, or kind of what I did find was kind of something that's similar to both. And basically what I do is, the first way I go about finding character physics is I look around my coordinates. If I'm able to find anything that may be around coordinates, then I will go to another value that I know would be in it, and my next go-to is the ground collision flag. And what that is when you're standing on the ground, there's a flag value. Usually it's 0. And when you jump up in the air, it's usually set to 1, or it could be cycling between different numbers. And that'll be the one I usually go try to find. This value could be on a 4-byte, or it could be on a float. And you never really know until you just get in there and play around with it. But usually what these character physics are, if you've noticed in a previous vid that I did, that I will post up here, when we went and looked at the character physics of that game Risen. And I showed you how to find these things without even having to do any scans. But this game, I haven't been successful in doing it that method. So we're actually going to have to do a value scan. But what character physics actually are, it's everything that pertains to that character. Now, it depends on how sophisticated the game is and how much they programmed into it. But, you know, your basic physics are your gravity. You know, how high you can jump, how fast you can walk, how fast you can run, the type of run you have up a hill versus the type of run you have down a hill, which going up a hill is slower, going down a hill it increases speed. And you'll notice the physics even get more sophisticated. When you jump up in the air, you'll start falling slow, and then you'll gradually pick up speed as you get closer to the bottom. All that is calculated into the game. And even in jumps, not just how high you can jump, but there's also an arc that you can jump, how far you can jump. How far you can jump when you're walking, how far you can jump when you're running, and also how fast you can jump via those two. So you got all these variables in there, and the more variables there are, the more ways you have to look it up, because usually they're all going to be together, just like coordinates. Usually they're all going to be structured together with that character. You know, speed, everything. So that's what we want to look for, and that's what I'm going to do. But we're going to start on 4-byte, and we're going to find that ground collision flag of when we jump up in the air. Then the flag is set. I think there's 3 variables it goes through. One is standing on the ground. One is you're going up. Then another ground when another flag value is set when you reach max height to trigger the falling animation, as well as any type of you know, pull back down to the collision field of the ground. So that's what we'll be looking for. So usually it can cycle between 3, sometimes 4 values. So basically what you want to do is just start your lowest value while you're standing on the ground, and then when you're up in the air, just increase value. Just wait till you're back on the ground, then decrease value. It could also be the opposite, where the high value is when you're standing on the ground and the low value is when you're in the air. So you got to keep those in mind. I'm going to go ahead and bring the game up, and we'll go ahead and get started. Alright, we're going ahead and getting loaded up here. I'm just going to continue where I left off. So let's go ahead and attach Cheat Engine to the game. And let's load up the table where we left off. You remember last time, this is where we left off on the coordinates. Of course, I was fudging around with it after I cut the video off. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. And now I do think I'm on a game that has enemies on it, because I don't think I beat them all. So I kind of want to stay away from them while I'm doing this. Let's go just get rid of this one, get him out of the way. There, and then we can come back over here, and hopefully they'll leave us alone. So I'm just going to go to an area where we can just the flat area, just some kind of flat area is fine. And right when we're standing on the ground, that's where we want to start. So what I want to do is we're going to go ahead and scan for an unknown value in 4-byte. But what I'm doing in my mind is I'm going to go ahead and say, okay, this value is 0, and I'm going to say it's increasing. If that don't work, then we got to start all over again. I'll say, okay, it's a high number, and I don't know what it is, and then it's decreasing when she jumps up. It could be either way. I don't know. So that's usually the way it goes. But in this particular case, I've already done it, and I know it goes from a low value to a high value. So hopefully we can find it rather quick. Alright, so what we want to do is, what I like to do for this type flag is enable speed hack, and I'll put it down very low. I'll put it to like a 0.1, just to give me some time to, you know, so you just ain't jumping fast, and I can have search time and things like that. You can pause the game while scanning, but I still recommend using speed hack. It just makes it easier. So what we want to do is go ahead and jump up in the air. We're going to go ahead and pause it while she's in the air, so we know that the flag has changed. She's no longer standing on the ground. So we're going to go increase value, and we're just going to do this over and over again until we get down to a few we can try. And we're looking for anything that affects her jumping, whether it just holds her down or just makes her wiggle a little bit or whatever. Any value like that we can use. You understand? We don't necessarily have to find that specific flag, just anything that looks like it affects it. Similar to how we look for encrypted values, just anything that affects that value we want to take a look at. So that's what we want to do. So let her come back down. And now what I do is I don't do anything until she has completely stopped moving. Let her completely stop moving, get into a position. That way I know the flag is set touching the ground. So decrease value. And then we can hit unchanged. Because as long as we're standing on the ground, not in the air, it's the same. So go ahead and jump up. Now that we've got speed hack on, we can just go increase value and just wait for her to come back down. Wait for her to stop all the way. Now decrease value. Now what I want to do, now it may not be a 0, in this game it is, but in other games when you don't have a clue what the value is, do not do this, because it may not be a 0, but this is a 0, so I'm just going to filter out anything that's not a 0 to save us some time. While she's standing on the ground, it's a 0, and it's like that for most games, but if you can't find it, then it's probably not a 0. But most games it will be. So increase value, don't mash anything. And now wait till she stops. And then decrease value. And anything that looks like this is 10 digits long, or you can count bytes, 5 bytes like that. But this is the decimal form, so anything in decimal form that's 10 digits long, usually starting with the 1 or 2, that's the float value. These right here, these are float values right here. Or what did I think I found it last time. Let me add that to the list, and you can change it to float. I don't think any of those are it, I'm not sure. But tell you what, let's get rid of all these, and I just want to bring down my 148s. That's probably the better idea. I'm going to stay away from the negatives right now, and I'm going to go down to here where I know that's not a float value, or I don't think it is. Let's change all these, and if we crash the game, we'll start over and pick up where we left off. So we do want to be careful. So I'm just going to freeze a value, and we can go ahead and put it back on regular speed. Apply. Okay, none of those affect it in any way. And what I like to do is just keep it at 0, and that's what I should have done. So I know none of those are it. So let's try a couple of these. I don't see anything that's affecting it. And you ask me, what exactly are you looking for? I don't know. Anything that appears different than what a normal jump looks like. And you'll see what I mean once we hit it. So, alright, let's go down to the next few. I'm going to stay away from the 149s for the time being. Let's go ahead and add that. Let's put those on float values just to be on the safe side. I'm not going to freeze all of them, just a few. Now take a look. You see how she's not jumping all the way? You see how something's kind of prohibiting the jump? So we tag something. That's what we want. We want to see any kind of difference we see. That's what we want to jump on. So you got to really be observant. You really want to pay attention. So we just want to get rid of a few at a time just till we see it go back to normal. It has not went back to normal, so it can't be those. She's not jumping near as high. She's going automatically back down. So let's clear off a couple of more. And look, she's jumping high again like normal. So it can't be the tops. So it's one of these two right here that's affecting how she's jumping. So let's go ahead and freeze one of those. And that bottom one is it. Let's just try the top one for kicks. And she's jumping normal again. Okay. So we see that bottom one affects her in a certain way every time we jump. Let's see what values it's going. Okay, I don't know what that value is, but hey, that's going to lead us to an area we want to be because that's prohibiting her jumping somehow. So what I do is go to browse this memory region. Oh, let me put that down out of the way. There we go, and here's the address it brings us to, and we're going to put it on float for the time being, and we're just going to take a look around this area and see what's going on. Let me move this up and kind of over out of the way. We don't need to look at the game, we need to look at our region right here. So that's what we're going to look at. And every time we jump, we want to see any values being hit. And take a look right here. Here is our flag. One, it's a 1 when we're on the ground, 3 when we're in the air. As soon as we hit the ground again, it goes from 1 to 3, and that's on a float. And also I want you to notice something else right here. Take a look right here. That's when we're doing normal run. And when we mash shift, when we mash V, we can go a little faster, right? Well, we go a little faster, watch it. Now we're going faster. Do you see it shoot up to 700? Slow it back down to 500, then we stop, it's 0. That's our speed. Let's add that to the current cheat table. Let's add that flag that was changing between 1 and 3 to our cheat table. Add this to the address list. Alright, so now we can fudge around with these values and see what happens. First thing, let's mess with her speed a little bit. Let's just put it something outrageous. What was the highest it went to? I think let's look at it again. I forgot what it was. Let's go back to browse when we get, what was it, 500 then 700. Okay, I think that's what it was. Let's put it to something crazy. Let's put it up to 8,000. Something. Oh, I forgot. That was my teleport. And take a look. Look how fast we're going. Now it builds up to that speed. So that's definitely something that we can use to affect her speed. But what about this value here? Instead of 1, this actually affects her gravity, or how it's calculated with global gravity. So that's like her weight in regards. So 1, and when she's in the air, she's got to pull a 3 on it. So what would happen if we made her weigh less? Like 0.2. Oh, my bad, I'm sorry. Let me do that again. Like 0.2. Now let's jump and take a look. And you can see that does affect how gravity is being calculated for her. And we can probably go in more depth about this and everything, but I wanted to get you to the reasons, the region areas, and you need to go experiment with all these type values. Everything is a value in regards to her physics. Some are cat values, some are just internal check type values, but some things are in reference to her physics, how high she can jump, how far she can jump, how fast she can jump, and we found her run speed, or what's being used to calculate her run speed. And there are other type values as well that you can look through, but that's to get you started. So I wanted to get you there, show you how I found it, but I always look for something that I know would be related to the values I'm really wanting if I'm not able to really find those. Sometimes these values that you see are constants, so you got to go change a bunch of constants and see if that affects it somehow. Sometimes you won't see that change like this. It'll just be a constant, like boom, it's 500, and then 700 will be somewhere off over here somewhere, and you got to go change it that way, and just a different function is accessing those two values. But here we have it actually changing as well. But there are constants associated with that also that you can go find, which I would recommend. But I'm not going to get into that. Basically what we want to do is just have us a working cheat that we can change our speed, or I'm sorry, change our height, and we can jump around and we can change our speed, and we can, you know, go a little faster, kind of like a fly hack. So if I put that like up to let's say 5,000, not 8,000, and we'll keep her jump at that level there on how that's being calculated. Let me put it back, or I'll keep writing one back. We can take a look at it. Okay, let's bring that back over. Ah, crap. Put that back. There we go. Alright, so now when we jump up in the air, we can just jump straight up, but as soon as we mash forward, take a look, we can just go anywhere we want to. Alright. That may be too fast. I may have to put that down a little lower. It's a little hard to control with her like that. Let's put it down to about, I don't know, let's go 3,000. Maybe that's better. So here's where we started. I want you to take a look what you can do with stuff like this. Take a look. We're just going to jump straight up in the air. And now we go. And take a look. All the way to the next level. Boom. Right here. So you can do that kind of stuff. It's fun. But finding character physics is fun. It's just, you just got to get in there and dig around and play around. Unless you're able to find the names of the classes and everything like that, which is hard to do, but you can find it that way also. You just have to go in there and experiment, and you'll see a difference. I mean, make them outrageous values, even if you crash your game. Just something outrageous where you notice the difference, and you know what it affects, and that'll help you next time you go look it up, and you can kind of stabilize it and everything like that. So what I want to do is I want to put the well, first off, let me save what I got so far, and we'll go ahead and write the script. I'll be right back. Okay, thank you guys. That way I don't have to go back and re-record all that, just in case I screw something up. So first off, let's go ahead and get that back to 1. So we're just going to jump, and it should just automatically set everything back to normal, because the game will write to it. And first thing, let's just do our jump, and we're going to find out what accesses the address. We'll go ahead and put the debugger on it, and let's just look at it for the time being, just see what it's doing when we're not doing anything. Then we can move around. We see something's accessing it when we move, and when we jump, it's the same thing accessing it. So this is accessing it all the time. This is only accessing it when we mash a button. So we see that's the one where it's actually writing to it. But you can actually go here where it's constantly accessing it. So that's what I want to do. Let's see here. just to make sure that this isn't a shared opcode. Let's just take a look at what addresses may be going through it. Put it on float because we're dealing with a float value, and we got several addresses going through it. How about the other one? Let's go ahead and stop that. Let's take a look at this other one. We see right here EAX is retrieving that value. That's also a pretty good address we could look at as well. We could affect what goes into EAX from this area, but let's just make sure and see what values are going through it. And we do have another value going through there also, and another value, so we will need to compare out. So I'm just going to go back to this one, and we're just going to go ahead and compare out our jump, which that's our address right here. Let me take a look one more time. And you can possibly go experiment and see what those other values are. It might be the monsters on the level. I mean, who knows? I don't know what they are. But you may be able to send them off into outer space as well. But you want to only do it for yourself. This is our address that's calculated based on our weight or whatever it's doing with gravity. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find commonalities, and I'm going to mark that as selection group 1. And you can choose a couple of them, but it's always good to have at least 3. And if you don't mark anything, it'll just use whatever's left. If you got a bunch of addresses, then go ahead and choose about 3 or 4 of them. But if you don't choose anything, all the rest of the addresses will be on group 2. So finding commonalities, everything else will be marked as group 2. If you see that, nothing means everything else. Scan for commonalities. We can look here and see if anything is in the registries that may be of interest. Nothing is. That's just an address that will change. So, alright. So right now we're going to be looking in RDI because that is our normal base address. So that's the best place to start. I'm not going to find matching groups. I'm just going to do a scan and see everything. And let's go to our pointer. Here it is, Darksiders. I'm going to put this as, let's see, I'll put char grab, just so I know what that is. Number 1, this is my first time doing this. And we're just going to take a look here. Now you want to do this, and if you're watching this vid, don't necessarily just go use mine because I haven't really tested it, so I don't know if these change later. I'm just going to pick one just for the sake of the tutorial. What I like looking for is 0s and 1s, things like that. Those are usually good ones. I like staying close and looking around first around the offset that I know that value is always going to be at, because usually values around it usually stay the same. You can tell these are all float values right here. We can change those floats and look at them. And these, you might want to go try all these values right here. Go try them and test them out and see if they do something. These values you want to go test out. I mean, all these values. You may crash your game, but you may find something you didn't even think about. And they're really fun to go test these physics out. You can do some really crazy things. But right now, I'm going to be using this 0 and 1 at 258 to compare out. Since the enemies look like they're 1 and we're 0, 258. RDI plus 258. So let's remember that. Go ahead and do auto assemble. Darksiders, and we're going to put player grab 1, player gravity. And what I want to do is go ahead and do my compare to separate out. Oh, I didn't go to the right one, did I? Hang on one second here. We're on the writing opcode. We need to go back to the other one because that's what that's in relation to, isn't it? Let's go back to this one. There we go. That's the one we need. That's what this was in reference to, because remember I did 2 of them. Sorry about that. I meant to go back to it. Alright, let's try that again. Player underscore grab 1. And we're going to compare the base registry and RDI plus that offset of 258. And our value was 0. You can also compare the one, but I prefer using my character's value. Jump if not equal to code. And what we want to do is we want to go ahead and move our value into it, of what we want it to be. Just move into that value, comma, and just make sure you put float, and we'll say a 0.2, just like that. So we want to go test it, make sure it works. And we'll put super jump test. That's just to let us know what that script is doing when we go modify it later or whatever we need to do to it. And I cannot type, so I'm sorry about that. Alright, so we know that the game changes this back to 1 when we release that address back to the system, and Cheat Engine no longer writes to it. So we know once we turn this off, it'll automatically write 1 back and we'll stop super jumping. So let's take a look at it. So right now we're going to turn it on and we're going to jump, and we got our jump, and let's go back down. There we go. Now let's turn it off and see if it goes back to normal, and you see we're jumping normal. So that's a good one that we can keep for right now. We may go play around with some of these values and find something better later. We might actually have a good fly hat where we can actually walk in the air, not come back down at all, and we can do that. So these are things that we can continue to test and play around with, but you know, I at least wanted to get your foot in the door where you can go play with these values. And we do the same thing for the speed. I want to go ahead and put that on what accesses the value. Let's just go take a look at it. And that's when we're running. We see something constantly accessing, then I stop. Something is still constantly accessing it. So this one we run, and this is when we run faster by mashing V. And it's just every time we change, this is being written to right here. But right here is where it's constantly being monitored, so we could change it right here. We just need to find a location that isn't being shared by a lot of addresses. Those are usually ideal. But I usually start with these because I like doing injection copies. I'm not going to do that this time because I want to get done. And let's go ahead and find out what addresses accesses that instruction. We got a couple of them. So we can possibly use that. We can possibly use something else. Let's take a look at the writing opcode. That one's writing to it. So let's take a look at that, see what's going through it. We can also go up here and take a look at what's going into our, and possibly modify that, you know. That's an idea. Why don't we try that? You see RSI. So let's go take a look at what's in our RSI right here. Alright, float, and that's a standard 500, so that's the cap right there. So that would be better to modify, to be honest with you. So let's go ahead and add that to the cheat table. Let's see if we can modify this right here by itself, because that's a different address. If we modify that, let's say 2000, just that alone, that does work. And that's static. No, it ain't. I don't think that's static. No, that's not static, that's dynamic. Okay, so either one really, I guess. Let's go ahead and, but look, it stays even when you turn it off, so that's a good cap that you can use. However, you would have to move it back down yourself. So you can use that also if you wanted to. So either one, but I want to use one where it changes itself, and I ain't got to do it. So let's go ahead and find, I forgot which one it was, so I need to redo that. So there we go. several values in here. Alright, so we'll do the same thing, find commonalities and scan for commonalities, and we see RDI again. I always start with that one. You can actually do any of these registries and find you a compare. You're not stuck just doing it with this one registry here. But that's always the better one to start, since that's where the value is. And we're going to say char speed. So there's all kind of ways you can do this. You're not limited to do it the way I do it. Okay, you're never limited that way. There's all kind of ways you can do these. Let's see here. And if we take a look, we got the same compare we can use. That's good. That is awesome. We can use that same registry to compare. It's good for both of them. So what works for one will work for the other. Then we could possibly combine scripts and turn it into one cheat. So let's go ahead and label this char speed 1. And we'll use the same compare, CMP RDI plus 258. Keep doing that. 0, jump if not equal to code. Now, since XMMO is writing to this value, we don't want XMMO writing to our value, so we need to void that out. So we'll need to put a jump return up here and make sure that our guy never jumps to here. Okay? I'm just going to take that out. Now you can put it in XMMO to write to your character, but you can just do it this way also, which is easier. And for right now, we'll just put it at 2,500, rounded off between 3,000 and 2,000, which seemed pretty good. And that should be good. So now we'll have to cut both of them on, but we can combine scripts later. So now once we do combine scripts, we should have us a good semi-fly hack. So I'm going to turn both of them on, and we're going to jump and take a look. We're all the way over to our next level thing. We can kind of fly around the screen at will. We can stop ourselves, go the other direction, go back, go forward. So it is a semi-fly hack that, you know, except gravity is still working with us here, so we can kind of play around with it more and see if we can cut out the falling. We can do that too, but I ain't got time to in this video, and it might be something I'll work on later. But we will continue with this game. I've had several of you ask questions in regards to certain values like souls and what is it, ability points and stuff like that, and we'll look into that too if you'd like to. I mean, I love this game. I want to play this game, and right now I'm enjoying hacking it, so you know, I get more than my money's worth out of these games, you know, because I love hacking them, then I love going and playing them. And some of you ask me, do you play with your cheats? Actually, I try to play without my cheats when I actually go play the game, but if I get stuck or get pissed off, then yeah, I'll cut them on. But it's nice to have the option, but I do like playing most of my games without the cheats. So that being said, and then when I'm just ready to go in there and have fun, I'll turn them on and just wreak havoc. So, but that's basically it for this, and you can go in there and play with other values and see what you can find. You can find all kind of goodies in there if you just don't mind going in there, putting in the work and play around a little bit. You'll find all kind of great stuff, I promise. But I want to go ahead and thank my partners right quick. These guys keep Cheat the Game running. It's their kind contributions each and every month that keeps Cheat the Game up and running. Thank you guys so much. You enable me to be able to make these tuts. If it wasn't for you, I'd have had to quit this a long time ago. So thank you guys very much. These guys get freebies every month. This month they got free course and Unity games, and it will really give them an insight on how games are created and The more you know about how games are created and programmed, more of an edge you'll have in hacking them, because you'll know more of what to look for, things like that. That'll really give you an edge. So that's a free course. It won't be free for long, so if you are a partner and have not seen that post over at Patreon, make sure you go take a look at it. And it will be free for everybody else, I believe, in a few days. So the Patreon partners get access to it first. So thank you guys very much, and I also want to thank all my men's, all you members that come here. If this helps you out, please place a like on it. Help us get back up in the ranking systems of YouTube. I know this new Article 13 come out. I don't know everything there is all about it with this new copyright Article 13, but you know, we're kind of watching that. I'm still uploading these to Cocoscope, so please make sure to join us over there. If something happens to YouTube, we will be over there also, so you'll still have these tuts. So come over there and subscribe to me over there as well, and that way you have that as a backup also, so I can still make sure to get these tuts out to you guys. Alright guys, that's all I got time for. You all take care. Keep on hacking. Most importantly, please enjoy yourself. That's really what it's all about. You cheat the game, fellas, because believe me, doesn't mind cheating you. You all take care now.